Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 254 at scavengerlife.com.
So this week was the worst week we've ever had on eBay.
I can't believe it.
Or ever in the sense of as far as we can think about.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was very, very bad. We'll talk more about our numbers, but there are probably people right now who are hearing us with stores with 200 items that probably made more than we do. And we have,
almost 4,000
items.
Now, I have a theory on why it was so bad.
Why do you think it happened?
So, we had some people staying at the farmhouse for 5 days.
And we store a lot of inventory in some sheds over there.
So I basically have to change my handling time. I changed it to 5 business days. The second I did that on, I think it was Sunday night, nothing. I mean, just dead.
Right.
On both stores.
I think the other thing is that we have not listed it much at all in 2 months.
It's been 2 months.
So when our friend Vic came, he visited us, I think at the beginning of February.
Yeah.
And he taught us about how to do Amazon FBA. And we've really been spending the past it's months working on
doing FBA.
Doing learning FBA and gathering inventory and mailing it in. And I mean, I've been taking photos and writing stuff for eBay.
Right.
But it actually getting in our eBay store has not been happening.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing. I mean, we've been selling very well.
Right.
But this is, again, I think one of those things that happens when you don't list for a long time is that you're going to start to be hit with those bad weeks.
Well, the good thing is I did actually list this week.
Yeah.
It was so bad, and I had a day where I was like, oh, I have to list today. I've done everything I need to do for Amazon and for our tech jobs coming up.
Yeah.
Do it.
I mean, so we have not listed much for 2 months. I mean, although there have been a day here and there. And now we're about to leave for another month.
Right.
Where we put our store on, long term.
30-day handling.
It's going to be 30 days before people get anything. We aren't going to really do anything for eBay at all. So, this is an experiment in action.
Yeah.
How long can you not really do anything in your eBay store? It's before sales
just dry
crash.
up.
So,
yeah.
Are we going to have another slow week? I don't know. We'll see. So we'll talk more about our numbers in a second, but we've been having some people email us and call us and ask why we aren't angry at eBay because they've changed its prices for
subscriptions. And drastically changed their prices.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just because I think you're the one that it's put it in the right frame of mind. It's to be angry, it's you really have to care,
yeah.
I don't know how much we actually care about all those ins and outs of how eBay runs their business, I mean, does that make sense? I mean
it's that, and we've done the numbers, we crunched the numbers, and we're like, that's actually better for us, you know what I mean? So why I'm just not angry about it.
Right. I mean, it's also just do I want to fight with this soulless corporation or make its money so we can just live in peace?
Right. I mean, it almost reminds me a little bit of Amazon too, because we keep getting so not mad at Amazon, but just being like, geez, the fees are so crazy. So don't sell on Amazon. Just shut up and don't do it. If that makes you angry.
Yeah.
So for me with eBay, I'm like, every time they change something, I'm like, I still make a living on eBay.
I think the other thing is with my history with these corporations, because we live in America now.
Right.
It seems like everything is in some way run by a corporation rather than these smaller companies. So to me, it's not. I feel helpless.
Right. There's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, people say, but you have a podcast. I have no proof that eBay listens to this podcast. I mean, we aren't involved in...
Yeah, some inner circle.
Any inner circle of eBay people. We don't go to the eBay radio thing or whatever. I mean, we're not a part of any of that stuff. So I have no idea what kind of voice we do have. I will say this. My experience with with these corporations is simply I make a choice. Like I remember when the economy crashed in 2008.
Yeah.
I had a credit card, and I remember I had signed up for that credit card when I was 18.
Yeah.
It was like they had a desk in front of, like a table on campus, and they were signing kids up, and I was just a dumb kid. I was like, yeah, give me a credit card.
Yeah, great.
I was pretty good about it. I didn't blow it up. It was fine. It was actually very helpful at a certain points in it's my life. So I'd had it for a long time.
You had it like 20 years.
I was like a loyal customer, and I remember I got a letter from them that they were raising my interest rate for no other reason than I just think they had to, or they chose to, because the economy was bad and they needed to make money.
Right.
So they were like, we're raising you. I was so angry, I just quit them. I just canceled the card.
Yep.
And I will never use that company ever again.
Right. You're just like, I'm a 20-year
and
loyal
that company
customer.
is Citibank.
Citibank!
So, you know, that's the way it works for me.
Right.
That when one of these corporations does something that I just can't stand, I just stop.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to, like, start a blog and say bad things about them or call them. I'm just like, whatever.
And you know what? Other people totally have the choice to do that.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, you absolutely should.
Right. And to me, it's like if eBay starts crossing lines that don't make sense in a business way, I mean, I will jump ship.
Right.
Immediately, and other companies will eat their lunch.
I mean, if you really feel like it's hurting people, if we are like, this is hurting us too much, I would think that it would be like a mass exodus. And it never is. You know why? Because people still make a decent living on eBay.
Yeah. And so I will, on the blog post, I will actually put the numbers. I mean, that's the thing. People that are just automatically angry about it, I just want to see them do their own numbers. Like with the new subscription, you actually get more that you can list.
Right.
So how does it work out? And actually I did it in one of our store. We're going to pay a little bit more, but we can list 4,000 more items for free. And then our second store is actually cheaper because of how the numbers work out
somehow. Yeah. Do the numbers. Yeah. That's what Jay always says.
The other thing with eBay, we were talking on the blog about why we don't tell people that we sell like it's when we're out and about.
Why we don't say we're resellers.
And we actually came up with a good reason why.
Yes.
Because it just happened to us this past week.
Look, these are my reasons. My reasons are, number one, I want to get a bargain on everything. That's the basic reason. And number two, I don't want to sell other people's stuff for them.
Well, I mean, that's what happened. Like, it's this week. We dropped stuff off at a place.
It's the UPS drop-off. So the people who own the store that we drop off at see the tons of boxes that say Amazon FBA. And
so he started asking about it, and then I was like, yeah, we sell, it's kind of fun. And then he's like, well, look, I have all this extra inventory. Can you sell for me? And then I had to kind of go through my spiel about, I pull up my phone and I show him how he can do it, and then his eyes glaze over and then he's not interested. But that's a good reason why I don't like to have to do that,
Yeah, well, the great way to deflect those questions is always, number one, I have so much stuff I need to sell. I'm overwhelmed with my own inventory. And number two, it's really easy, or no, don't say it's really easy, 'cause it's not really easy. I can show you how to do it yourself, and they're not interested.
Well, I mean, but that's going back to why we originally said this. The best thing is just if they just don't know. Like, we just say, like, I don't really sell. I'm just sending stuff in for it's my parents or something,
Like, the other thing, too, is, like, I really personally don't like to talk details with people who aren't other sellers, almost. Like, I don't want to explain it to them. Like, my post office lady, a couple weeks, it was a month ago or something. I mean, clearly she knows we sell on eBay. And she was like, what kind of stuff do you sell? And you're like, how do I even begin to explain what I'm selling? So basically, I was just like, if you can think of it, I sell it. Right. And, like, she just, like, had no idea how to process that information, and that's it. You know? Yeah. It can get bizarre.
So just we're updating people on our Amazon FBA experience. So we're still starting out. I mean, and I always have to remember that this is a new platform, and we think we're these experts on selling online, but it's really Amazon's new to us. So we're figuring this out. So we had like a refund hell. It's this past week where we had people initiate 5 returns, and the way Amazon does it is they just say someone's going to return this, and they take the money out immediately, and then
you have to wait 45 days to see if they actually returned it.
And then you can have the item shipped back to you, and then you can figure out, is there something wrong with it, or did the person just not want it? Because it's very easy for people to make up excuses why they send it back, and Amazon is like, well, just eat it. Anyway,
exactly.
Here's the deal. Why so many returns? We were very angry, and we were very indignant about it, so we had some of the items sent back to us, and you know what? It was our fault. A lot of them were our fault because, we're buying stuff at thrift stores and yard sales. They look new in box, and honestly, we hadn't looked as deep into them as we should have.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, 2 of them were missing. They were missing quantity, and that was a bad mistake. So
again, this just reminds me, it's a humbling experience that we are learning. And this is just like when we started off with eBay. We start to make these mistakes, and we get real angry about it. But then we realize we made it's mistake. And you know what? We're never going to do that again.
You learn. You're like, oh, if the box is an open box, it's not a sealed box.
We need to actually see if everything, all the parts are in there.
That's why with puzzles, I feel like you can only buy sealed puzzles.
Right.
Like, you can't buy open puzzles.
So, that's an example of I even had spent some time on the Amazon, it's forums. I guess they're really like the eBay forums. And, I was really getting angry along with everyone else. People are like, yeah, people are always stealing from you. They're buying things from me, and they pull stuff out, and then they mail it back, and say it didn't all come to them. And I'm sure stuff like that happens, but in this case, it was really all our fault.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of ones where the people just didn't want the items, so we're gonna
send them back.
Yeah, but so what? But,
that's just what happens.
Yeah,
but. Again, I want to emphasize what you said, which was, this happens to us on eBay. It had happened to us on eBay. You do something, it's an amateur mistake, and you're like, I won't do that again on purpose. I will definitely open all boxes of X item and count them.
Right.
There's not just 2, there's, 6 that are supposed to be in there, or whatever.
Right. And it's one thing in the box where it should have had some hardware, some screws, and the screws weren't in there, and the person sent it back, and they had every right to, and it was our own.
But the great thing is, for items like that, you just sell it on eBay. You're like, it's missing this.
It's just painful because those 5 returns, we have to pay for all the shipping back and forth.
The fees.
We probably lost $30 to $50 on shipping, and that's just our own fault.
It's definitely so different than eBay.
Yeah.
It really is. But if you're okay with it, just keep going.
And I really do I must thank the people who have been emailing us. I've been emailing a handful of people that have been sharing their experience where they scavenge just like we are. They have huge Amazon stores, like 3,000 items, and they've really been patient and very kind to give me very good details on numbers. They show me screenshots. Yep. They allow me to ask a lot of questions.
Right.
And that's helpful, just like I hope this podcast is helpful, is that their experience helps me figure out what is expected and it's normal, like how many its returns are normal, how they price things, because I just don't know.
Right.
Because
we know eBay. We're like, okay, this is how you deal with returns. This is how you talk to customers. It's like, on Amazon, you don't talk to anybody.
And just like when people come on the blog and they say, I just started with eBay and like these things are going wrong and I'm not making enough it's money, and we're always just like, give it time.
You gotta figure it out.
It takes time. You aren't going to start, it's making $5,000 a month like right away.
Right.
And I have to remember, it's the same thing with Amazon. We have to give it a chance and build a real pipeline.
Yeah.
And we just have to list and send in stuff.
Well, and the other part about it for me too is you just have to decide if it's worth it.
Right.
Like, you just have to decide, I want to keep doing this or I don't. Like, if you're getting mad at Amazon every single day, you know, more than you're happy about your sales, okay, you got to figure that out.
And that's the same, we've always said that about eBay too. Like, if you're really angry about the seller update or how eBay does their things, and just sell somewhere else, you know. Just like, we should put our time into what helps us.
Right.
You know?
So for now, I mean, you know, when you get those returns from Amazon, you're like, dope, you know, you're like, why? But then, you know, like, okay, last night we got our return initiation that hasn't been sent back yet. It was like a TV remote. Brand new. I tested it. It worked. And I'm like, they don't tell you right away what the reason is, and I'm figuring they bought the wrong one because it definitely worked. Right. So I'm going to get it back. I'm going to put it back into my inventory, and I'm going to relist it on Amazon. But now I know that's how you do it.
And so I just have to be very careful because it's so easy. It's like you're on this fine line. I go on it's forums and I read, and people say this. They're like, okay, what happened is this. The guy needed one because his broke, so he buys yours,
send back
and then he keeps the new one, and then he sends the old one back because he knows Amazon's not going to check, and there's nothing you can do about it. So so I'm like, oh, don't tell me that.
I know,
because that stuff will keep me up at night. I'll be so angry. I just have to be like, all right.
But so
people are honest.
What's crazy though is, I mean, it is kind of crazy because you're like, okay, it's a TV remote. Say they did switch them, and I put it back in my inventory, then I'm going to sell a default, you know, faulty one again.
Exactly.
And it'll keep getting returned forever until you have it sent back to you or destroyed.
Endless loop, yeah.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
But again, it's like, we can't approach our business like this. We can't approach anything like this. We have to approach it as, you know, most people are honest.
Right.
Bad things do happen, but for the most part, I mean, like on eBay, for the most part, it's like very minimal. It's very, the problems, like the actual real bad things that happen are very tiny.
Right, compared to all the sales.
Yeah. And I just have to remember too that the stuff is just out there, either for eBay or Amazon.
Yeah.
It's out. Like this morning, we got up early because we saw that a couple of thrift stores were having huge like spring cleaning sales,
and there were yard sales.
And I mean, we cleaned up. It's just
we got it. It was just
just waiting for you to go get it.
I mean, and what's crazy is we had gone to this one yard sale yesterday, and we had gone to that thrift store yesterday, and we still bought more stuff today. Like, it's just, I'm like, we walked into this as a church yard sale, and I'm like, we looked at all this stuff yesterday. Came out with 4 bagfuls of stuff that I didn't buy yesterday. It's like, okay.
And it's interesting, and that's a fun thing for us, to me at least, with Amazon, is that we're scavenging just like we always do, but now there's always like a bag for Amazon stuff that's specific to stuff that I don't think I would have bought it before for eBay.
But if you're at a yard sale, like, this is what I love about church yard sales. Stuff is 10 cents. Yeah. You're like, okay, I'll
People
just
on the
get
blog
it.
where we're talking about this, like, now's the time when churches are doing their
it's great.
yard sales, and they're just pricing stuff ridiculously
10 cents. Clothes are 50 cents. Shoes are 50. I'm buying shoes, and they're like, shoes are 50 cents. I'm like, okay, great. Like,
it's the kind of place where they put like a color
coding,
on everything, and I'm like, okay, this is blue, orange. How much is this? And then there's like a price chart.
10 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents. You're like, okay, just it doesn't even matter.
How about I give you $20 and just let me take whatever I want?
Give me a trash bag. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, those are great.
And then just because we had a slow week on eBay, it's nice to say this, on Bonanza, we actually sold like four things, which is great.
And you know what? We haven't sold anything on Bonanza, I swear, in like 3 months.
Yeah, like it's Christmas time, we were selling almost as good as an eBay store, and then it just dropped off. So we had a good and some high price things on.
Yeah, sold on Bonanza.
That's why we always like it, because it syncs to our eBay store. It doesn't take any work, and it's always just kind of like a bonus, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, our numbers. How bad was our week? So on our main store that has almost 4,000 items, we made $500.
We sold 15 items.
We sold $500.26.
Oh, I'm so glad 26 cents.
I mean, it's still Saturday, so it's not over yet. We could sell a bunch the rest of the day because that's involved in eBay's week, but really, like, $500, like not even $100 a day.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was just, I mean, there were a couple days where we didn't sell anything.
I mean, it was like Wednesday, nothing sold, and I was like, I have to list tomorrow because I just have to do something.
Now, people were saying, well, why don't you, now that, like, so we have an Anchor subscription on eBay.
Yeah, it's like the highest price store.
Right. And with this new seller update, we can now list up to 10,000 items for free. So people are like, well, why not take your second eBay store,
right?
Combine them,
right?
To make an update. But see, this is a good example. I kind of like having a second store, even though it costs us a little bit more a month. So we have, about 800 items in that store. We made $400 on that store.
Yeah.
So we made $900 total on eBay.
Yeah.
But we made almost as much in our smaller, a second store as our main store.
Right.
And again, I don't know why, but I like that kind of having a double-barreled shotgun approach.
It's sort of like, hopefully you're in parallel. I mean, this is a good example this week. We made almost the same amount in one store as we did in the other, which we've been trying to get to, but I was hoping the other one would be
and one
so
is
low.
10 times bigger.
I know, it's just so crazy.
And then on Amazon, look, this is a surprise to me. Amazon, it looks like they really give you a lot of numbers, and you can download all this stuff, all this information, and it looks really much more up to date than eBay as far as like how they give you stuff. I, for the life of me, cannot pull numbers effectively where I can tell you, in the past 7 days we made it's this much was our expenses, and this is it's profit. I cannot do that.
We even got in a huge fight over how to do the Excel spreadsheet.
We had probably one of the biggest fights we've had in the past couple of months because of Excel spreadsheets.
It's so dumb.
If someone out there, don't do it on the blog, just email me, and we can talk about it to figure out how to do it. It's Retro WV Treasures.
Yeah.
Had put on the blog how to find there's a downloadable file.
Yeah.
You bring it into Excel, and then you
calculate the numbers in Excel.
However, when I do that, it actually puts the profit and the expenses all in the same row, so I actually can't see, okay, how much were all my expenses, how much were all my it's profit. It just gives you a single its number, which isn't helpful.
Basically, it gives you the number you want. It gives you your profit. But you're like, well, what was my fees?
I want a separate row for expenses and a separate row for its profit.
Basically,
and then,
it causes you to have to sort and then put them in another row and redo the account. It's just crazy.
And I just don't know why Amazon doesn't
just give you those
calculate that stuff on the page itself like eBay does. Like, all the numbers are there. I mean, I see it all, and then at the bottom they don't total it for you. I don't
give me the total.
That. So the other thing is this: people have said, well, I use Inventory Lab. It's a service. $49 a month. It's specifically built for Amazon. I was looking at it. We hate to pay for services, but this is a service I might actually, if we keep doing Amazon FBA, it's worth it, because it looks like they actually total all that stuff for you.
Right.
Like Amazon should.
It's just crazy. Yeah, exactly.
So probably people doing Amazon are laughing at me because they do Inventory Lab. And
well, I feel like Inventory Lab makes sense for people who are on like a higher level than us. They have, like you said, someone had been emailing us and they have 3,000 items in their inventory.
Right.
You know.
But, you know, I feel like we're those kind of people.
We're going to be,
we have
yeah.
600-something items, and we've done that in 2 months.
Right.
I want to have 3,000 items,
right.
So maybe we just commit.
And then do it.
Like we always tell people, like we just commit, and then, you know, there's some expenses up front. It's $50 a month isn't that bad. I mean, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Anyway, that's my rant about is numbers. Okay, things we sold. Let's talk about some of the interesting things we sold. We sold a Dansk pan.
Yes.
Like it's baking pan.
It's a baking pan. It's definitely vintage. It's enamel. It's called Coben style with a K. This thing, it's just like a little brownie pan, basically. It sold for $80.
But the Coben style is specific because, and you can always tell them right away from across a room, because the handles just are these interesting patterns, and it's very specific to the style. And if you see that, just grab
get it. Doesn't matter what condition's in. It will always sell. I would like to take much credit for the next two sales.
I give it to you. You have the credit.
Okay, so the first high dollar sale on vintage software. Now, I have been gathering vintage software in different places, but we had this huge lot of vintage software, and Jay was just like, I am dreading this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to write down what everything is. It's so annoying. And then one piece of software, Lotus 123 from 1986, sold for $96.
Yep.
And then the next day, on my listing spree, I listed all the big lot. It's like, 15 different lots of vintage software. There was this old, for all you nerds, bulletin board service software, BBS software, and manuals for different BBS systems. And I sold it best offer for $50.
I mean, I spent a whole day. It's photographing and writing
the titles,
and the descriptions of this stuff. And Orion had done these piles of all this old software. I mean, this is software where like it's all on those like
the floppy disks.
On the floppy disk. So there's like 8 floppy disks. So you have to like put in one, and then it'll say, okay, put in the other. And I'm just like, who would ever use any of this stuff? I was not a happy camper that day, because there's nothing worse than you're working on something and if you don't believe in it, it's tough to
it's really hard.
I didn't believe in it.
But you know what? I was so excited about it that I listed it, the next day, and it started to sell. I was like, look, it's selling.
Yeah, people were, and actually some of this stuff was, we had gone to a yard sale a couple of weeks ago, and the guy was just giving away boxes of books and software. I guess he had cleaned out someone's house, and he didn't think it was worth anything, just like me, but we grabbed it anyway. Yeah. And we sent a bunch of the books into Amazon, and then the software is what we've been putting up, and there you go. It's free. We made $50.
Yeah, we're selling it.
We sold a Rolodex. I mean, this is just like bread and butter stuff. Yeah. For us. It was a nice one, though. It was like from like the 40s.
It was like Art Deco.
It was a steel one. Yeah. And, people like those things. So
yeah, they're great. They had like original phone numbers from like way back when. It was really funny.
So those of you, I mean, this is the thing. When it helps us to sell this stuff if we imagine who buys this stuff. Right. And this is who buys stuff like this. It's like an artist. It's like someone who has a desk, and they have an image of themselves as like a madman kind of person, and they're buying, steel Rolodex and like an inkwell and like a cool bendable lamp. Yeah. And, so that's the style of their office, and that's who buys this stuff, and they're willing to pay good prices because this stuff is hard to find. I mean,
I've heard that people still use a Rolodex, though. Like, I've heard that from a few people on the blog where they're like, people love the Rolodex because it's actually a nice, like, analog way to just look up information.
Yeah.
So
Someone, I think it was Steve, was even saying that the Rolodex cards aren't made anymore.
right.
I don't know if that's true, but he says so. Even if you don't see the Rolodex, but
Get
just see
the
the
cards.
cards, people buy the cards. And then the last thing we'll just talk about that's interesting, and I talked about it on the blog, were these paper bags.
Yeah.
We found like a big box of they're just like lunch bags, but they're like all
They're
different sizes.
different sizes.
And they came from like a hardware store where they'd put nails and screws
Yeah.
in. I mean, they really aren't that special, but they had kind of a tinge of vintage.
Yeah.
But I think you could probably buy them. It's new, the same kind of sizes. But someone paid us $40.
Yep.
For a big thing of paper bags.
I also think people use them for crafts, and a lot of times I've seen them for wedding gifts and things like that. So they kind of look vintagey. So someone must have had some project they were using them for. And $40 for like 200 bags was a good price for them, apparently. Okay, so customer issues. This is the one that I've been dealing with this week. This woman, I sold some artwork on commission to this woman. It was over a month ago. And the box was getting bounced around, and she's like, where's the box? I don't know what's going on. So we went back and forth, and finally I was like, well, this is the address you gave me. I was on the phone with USPS, and they said your zip code was wrong. And she goes, that's not my address. This is my address. And you're like, okay, well, I didn't just make up an address out of nowhere. She gave me the wrong shipping address.
Right. So it was good. We got her to admit
Yes.
that she gave us the wrong address, and once she did that, we're in the clear.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's going to be hassle-free, and so this box is now coming back.
Right.
And she actually messaged us and said, the box is coming back. They said it was your fault because you put it in the wrong size box. So when you get it back, just send it back to me. And so she's trying to cover her tracks, but it's not going to work.
Well, what's great is you have all the messages from eBay, and I wrote back and I was like, just to be clear, this package never got to you because the incorrect address was supplied by you. Every time she writes to me, I'm like, this is the reason. So I have to get her to pay for shipping again. It should be coming back to me on Monday, according to the tracking. So that's why we're talking about it. I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but those are always kind of a pain when someone makes a mistake like that and a box gets bounced back and forth and you're trying to figure it out and you got to get them to pay for shipping again. But she wants the item, so...
Yeah, but it's unclear, though, if she's going to be happy to pay the shipping again.
I think she will pay for it again because she wants it and she's the one that made the mistake. So, yeah it's just kind of a bummer.
Okay, so what our coming week will be like. So we leave on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Where we fly to the West Coast. We'll be in Seattle and Bend and...
New Orleans.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of Portland, and it's New Orleans. So I know some people have been emailing us about maybe we do a little meetup. It's possible until we're going there to work, so until our job is actually done, it's hard to kind of get a sense of what our days will be like. But feel free to email us, and we can maybe try and work something
Figure
out.
something out, yeah.
It'd be fun to meet some people. But really, this is has happened to us. It's before, and this is why we it'd like to have an eBay store, and now Amazon is we can now kind of wrap things up. Mm-hmm. We're cleaning our house because we're having someone come and stay at our house to take care of our cats. Kind of our eBay store is kind of closes down, or at least the pipeline of us putting things into it, but it still is going to be open.
Right.
And those of you that don't, haven't heard us say this, it's before, what we do is we don't put our store in its vacation. We don't close it down. We just extend our handling time.
Yeah.
So we're going to be gone for 30 days. So we just say our handling time is 30 days.
Right. And we message people as soon as they buy stuff with a, pre-written message. We'll be back on this date. We'll be shipping after this date. Thanks. And then they can tell us if they need to cancel.
And often what happens, and I think some other scavengers had tried this it recently is that 1 out of 10 people will say, "Oh, I didn't see that. I need it right away. Give me its money back." We give them immediate refund.
Right.
The other people, some people are like, "Cool, have a good time. I can wait."
What I like to do, too, is tell people where we're traveling, because they love that. They're like, I love that area. Oh, I'm originally from there.
And plus, we always tell people it's a buying trip, just to make it seem like we aren't just... I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Right.
But it makes them think like we're explorers.
Well, what's funny is we usually are buying.
Yeah,
it's not
true.
just the only reason.
It kind of is a buying trip.
We are buying.
And then, so then, as most people just don't say anything, we come back, we ship their stuff, and everything's okay. And the important thing about changing your handling time is then, if there's ever a problem, if the buyer ever tries to complain, eBay will back you up because you've made it abundantly clear what the deal is. And if the buyer didn't want to buy it and wait that long, it wouldn't have bought it in the first place.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we're going to listen to voicemail questions and comments. If you want to give us a call and leave a message, the phone number is 540-407-8486, and you have 3 minutes to leave a message.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for all your great shows. I'm learning so much. I have a quick question for you. I found some vintage leather women's gloves from France. They're in pretty good shape, but they're dirty. Would you clean them? And how would you clean them? Or would you just leave them the way they are? Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. Other than just taking kind of a damp rag and wiping things off, that's about as much as we would do. But I think the answer would be is simply take a photo of it and tell people the marks, and then sell it as is.
And let those people figure out how to clean them if it's possible.
Because the only reason why we would ever take it in to have it cleaned, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
It might not actually clean it all.
Right.
And is if we were sure they would sell for $500.
Yeah. So for this instance, I would say sell them as is and let someone figure out, how because there are leather cleaning services, but let them figure it out.
Yeah. See, I think that's and a lot of people have told us that that's the smartest way, is that just tell people it's what's wrong, it's with it, and they can figure out how they want to deal with it.
Exactly. Especially with something like that.
Yeah.
Although I will say I have washed vintage leather kid gloves before.
Really?
You got to Google it. I think I hand washed them. You have to Google it because I swear I washed them and they were, I think they shrunk a little bit, but I swear that there's certain kinds of leathers that can be washed, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know if I did it right.
Right.
That's just something you need to research on your own.
This is Daryl in Ohio for Jay. Jay, as soon as I heard about eBay raising their prices for the subscription of their store, the first thing I thought was, you're going to spin this and say, it's not that bad. You get more listings or whatever. Man, sometimes we need you as our advocate to get fired up and angry at eBay. I know they do a great job and we are allowed to advertise our auctions across the world. But man, sometimes we need you. We need you to get fired up and say, this is enough. This is you're not doing as good as you can be. Anyway, love your show. Thanks. Bye.
So I think it's a valid point, but his instinct was correct. He knew as soon as he heard our podcast that I would be what I was. I was just like, it's just how it is. He's right. That's just how I am. So it's not a surprise. I mean, our podcast was kind of built to be anti the eBay forums, because that's where you go when you want to really just like roll around in the anger and you want to be upset and you want to I don't know. That's not what we do.
Right.
We did the numbers. The new subscription rates are okay. We're going to pay a bit more, but we'll be able to grow our store more for free.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's just not something we were angry about. And, I was a little shocked at first. I was like, whoa, what?
But, that's the thing, though. I'm willing to listen, and I would hope that people would go on the blog and the people upset would do their own its numbers and say, I have a store X amount of size. If I get the new subscription, it's going to cost me X. I was paying Y. You know, I'm going to pay this much more. Then I'll be like, yeah, okay, be angry. But no one's really given me its numbers yet. You know?
Right.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Matt. I have a question for you that I know you covered before. I tried looking through your archives. I'm on episode 38 and I haven't found the answer yet. I'm wondering, when you purchase inventory from a garage sale or another place that doesn't give you a receipt, how do you document your expenses in a way that is sufficient for the IRS come tax time? I have never documented my expenses in the past. I started this year. I'm just keeping an Excel spreadsheet with the date of the garage sale, the locations, item description, and the price. I think that's sufficient, but I'm just curious about how you guys do it, because I'm sure you've been doing it for years. I appreciate your podcast and all the information you give. I've gotten a lot of help out of it in the past. So thanks for your help on this question, and hope you guys are doing well. Bye.
Hello, Matt. Yes, so this is a very good question, and there isn't really a great answer. I think it's something we each have to deal with ourselves. I think, like a lot of other people have said, what you do is when you're dealing with taxes, you just need some kind of format that if the IRS were ever to come and to look at what you're doing, as long as they see there's a logic, then you'll be okay. And that's, doing a spreadsheet.
Right.
And you're keeping track of what you're buying and, paying for. And that's, I think, they just want good... It's record keeping.
Yeah, it sounds like you're keeping very good records.
The other thing, though, is like we went to this church yard sale where we spent like $8
yeah.
for 25-cent items and 10-cent items. You know what? We're not going to write that off.
I mean, it's so little.
I mean, and that's the thing with a lot of. With a lot of just, home sales is like that. Things are so cheap, it's just really not even worth trying to write that stuff off.
Right. It's almost too much trouble in some senses to keep track of every item. I'm like, oh,
like,
man.
I bought a shirt for 5 cents. I bought a pencil for 10 cents. It's
just like,
am I going to write off 10 cents?
Yeah.
So it's really, you need to make a choice what is worth the time to document. Because that's what the IRS wants to see, is that even if you don't have its receipt, they see that you've documented the date and how much each item was and stuff like that.
I mean, and
like we always say, if this is going to be a business, get an accountant, and that accountant can help you come up with a system like that.
Yep. So that's it for this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links that we talk about, and you can join the conversation in the comments. If you do have a question or a comment and you want to call in, the phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Sunday night or Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post our What Sells videos that show what we sold and how much we sold it for. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, so you always get the latest episode. And you can also listen to our other podcast where we talk about our vacation Airbnb house that we rent out, and that is at shampooandbooze.com. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
See ya!